Do you ever feel like your bloating has a mind of its own, showing up no matter what you eat? You've tried cutting out foods, sipping on kombucha, taking probiotics, but your belly still feels like it's about to pop? Why is this? Spoiler alert, I'm about to talk to you about something that no one is talking about in the internet, and that is your bloating is persistent because it can have many causes, not just one that one simple solution can solve. If you don't know your specific cause of your bloating, you're just guessing at remedies. And that's why, for many of my clients, some of the most popular bloating remedies, like probiotics, apple cider vinegar, and more, have made their symptoms worse. In today's episode, I'm answering a question from a listener who's dealing with severe bloating every single day, plus Candida overgrowth, and is also planning to start trying to have a baby soon. On today's episode, we're going to cover why Candida isn't a root cause and what that means for your bloating, the first changes you can make now to get bloating relief without making things worse, and how to know which bloating natural remedies are right for you, plus what you need to know about doing gut and detox protocols while trying to conceive. If you're stuck with a bloated belly and you just want real answers, not random remedies, this episode is for you. And P.S., want to ask a question directly to me and get it answered on the podcast? Now you can. Just go to betterbellytherapies.com/askallison or click on the link in the show notes to submit your unique question and get it answered by me on the podcast. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. If you're currently trying endless supplements, doctor visits, and diet changes to heal your mystery symptoms, you are in the right place. We're here to solve the real root causes behind your gut, hormones, skin, sleep, and brain concerns. Literally anything and everything in your body. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a functional medicine practitioner that has supported over 150 clients just like you to heal problems that no one has been able to fix. You don't need a perfect diet or a random supplement you found on Instagram to heal. You need a proven system that heals your whole body from the inside out. That's what I'm here to share with you, episode by episode. It's time to make health easy again. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health.
Hi, Allison. I recently found your podcast and really enjoy all the content you put out. I've learned so much, and I actually just purchased the blueprint the other day. I ordered my tests, and I'm looking forward to getting the results back. I have already been told that I have Candida, and I currently suffer from really severe bloating all day, every day, no matter what I eat. I'm also waking up super hot in the middle of the night, and even after listening to a couple of episodes, realizing that could be a liver issue is something I never thought about. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the other data comes back to be. But my question is, I'm curious if you had any suggestions or advice on how to relieve the severe bloating, candida issues, etc. in the meantime while those results come back. I do plan on following the full protocols that you recommend based on the results, but my husband and I are going to try for our second child in about 2 months. So I was worried, would that not be enough time to go through the full protocols? Is the detoxing process, dangerous to do at the same time during that trying to conceive time? So, again, really just looking for any relief or any suggestions that you would have about this. Thank you so much.
Hey friend, I'm so excited that you submitted this, and I'm so excited that you joined the Better Belly Blueprint. So yay! I love that I get to share this, and it's a great episode for the podcast. But I wanted to just let you know, before you joined, or before I went on to the rest of today's episode, have you joined our coaching program? Because if you have not, then I highly recommend that you do so. And in Module 1 of the Better Belly Blueprint course, there's actually a link to get 3 months of group coaching, and you can do pay in full or a payment plan to join. And you can ask questions just like this inside of our group coaching program and get daily one-to-one access inside of our private Facebook group, or join a bi-weekly live group coaching call that also gets recorded. So if you do have coaching, you get much faster answers in there or coaching questions, you get much faster answers in there, which is 2 business days versus these podcast episodes for questions that we answer on the podcast. You're not guaranteed that we'll be able to answer it, and B, it usually takes us 1 to 3 weeks to get the episodes into here, sometimes longer. So highly recommend, if you didn't already, join our group coaching program. And if you already do, then anytime you have questions like this, you can just go into that private Facebook group, which you can actually find links to all of this inside of the Better Belly coaching course you got access to when you added coaching onto your purchase. So that's a side note to friend, and for anybody else who might be thinking of joining. Just so you know, we have ways to get your questions answered. You don't have to get it answered on the podcast. You can get it answered much, much faster in our group coaching program. But let's talk about bloating, because that is definitely the primary question and primary thing being asked here. And then after I talk about bloating, we will get to TTC, trying to conceive, conversational piece as well. So here is the thing with bloating, friend. I am really glad that you know that you have Candida, because if you didn't give me that piece of information, I have very little to go off of. Bloating can have so many causes. And when I look at all the advice on the internet for, like, if you have bloating, drink apple cider vinegar or take probiotics or eat food with fiber, like, I don't know, just any endless amounts of things people talk about online, go gluten-free, like, those could work for some people, but for a whole bunch of people, they are not working. And the reason is because it has to do with why you're getting bloating. Bloating is one symptom, and it is a common symptom. Like, if you want to think of symptoms as your body communicating with you of like, hey, something's wrong. Your gut, for example, can only give so many symptoms. It can give bloating, acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, some pain, maybe pain in specific spots, nausea. But those symptoms are going to be used not just with Candida or not just with a parasite. It might be used with a heavy metal. It might be used with a food sensitivity. It might be used with an autoimmune disease. We don't know those things until we do further testing. So what I am going to do is say, number one, if you haven't already, do listen to our podcast episode 234, where I go over everything, all the best information you're going to need on Candida, why the Candida diet doesn't work, why Candida cleanses don't work, how to test for Candida, things like that. Now, not as relevant to you, but for someone listening, those things might be interesting. And then additionally, in that episode, I talk about how when you are doing why Candida isn't a root cause. And this is one of the biggest things you're already in our program. So we're already going to take you through the process of finding your Candida's root cause through other testing. But the root causes are what is going to be the most important thing to Candida, not some like magical herbal combination that's going to get rid of your Candida. That episode is going to address it, so I don't really want to get into the root causes, but that will give you a better understanding of how we're going to help you address Candida in our program. That is better than pretty much almost everything else out there that I see. Now, in the meantime, you're like, okay, I have Candida. I also have bloating. What can I do? The advice I'm about to give you is based off of information of you knowing that you have Candida. Not even you thinking you have Candida, but someone tested you and confirmed that you have Candida. It likely, if you follow this advice, it might reduce your symptoms a little bit, but I wouldn't anticipate it would address it completely, because this is not going to kill your Candida, and it's also not going to address the root causes of your Candida. And there are a variety of root causes of Candida. So like one person who has a Candida overgrowth could have 2 issues, and another person has 3, and they're totally different issues that are driving both of these people's Candida. So the root causes can cause bloating as well, but let's talk about Candida itself. If you have Candida, you can often get relief from bloating by avoiding these following things. Number one, collagen. what the heck? Why did I just talk about collagen? Don't eat collagen powder. Don't put collagen powder in your smoothies. Don't put collagen powder in your muffins or your baked goods as a way to increase your protein. You can eat meat. Don't worry about the collagen that's naturally in meat, but don't boost your collagen artificially with like a powder or a supplement. Same with bone broth. And I covered this in episode 141. Does collagen in bone broth cause bloat and constipation? It's a very straightforward episode title there. Because the answer is yes, it does. Candida converts collagen and the collagen you'd find in bone broth into something called oxalates. And the oxalates can cause a lot of bloating and other issues that oxalates specifically cause. If you want to learn about oxalates, I highly recommend going to episode 148, the oxalate episode, why you should care about oxalates. And that's like, I'm not saying you have an oxalate overload. You might not, but collagen is commonly will be converted into an overabundance of oxalates in your body that when there is candida, because candida overgrowth likes to do that. So I do highly recommend, like in our testing in our program with the organic acids test, there's a marker on there to test your oxalate load. So you'll see if you do the organic acids test, which I do recommend you do that test. I don't know if you're still in the process of module 1 determining what tests you need to order, but I do recommend the organic acids test based off of what you're already saying. Which, by the way, for our listeners, we literally have a tool in module 1 that says it's called a lab chooser tool, and it helps you know what labs you need to order based on your symptoms. So she most likely did already do that. If she's done that tool, then that tool is probably going to say she needs to do an organic acids test, but just double confirming that I said so too. So don't do collagen. Maybe you're already not, so don't do the next thing. No fermented food. So think kombucha, fermented sauerkraut, pickles, yogurt, things that are truly fermented you don't want to eat, because fermentation is increasing a yeast and bacterial proliferation in that food. And then if you already have a candida overgrowth, which is a yeast proliferation in your gut, it's an overgrowth. It can actually make that overgrowth even more aggressive and painful and dysfunctional. So I do not recommend fermented foods in a diet. And that's a common thing. If you're actually finding a candida diet or protocol, that's a helpful thing to do. Another thing is stop probiotics. I don't know what type of probiotics you may or may not be on, but don't take them. I often correlate that with worsened bloating symptoms in my clients with candida and clients with SIBO. Lastly, so those are my top 3 that I see people's bloating can be ameliorated when they reduce or eliminate their exposure to those 3 before doing anything else. At the same time, there's a possibility that even eliminating those might not do anything depending on what your root causes are and how aggressive they are. Like H. pylori is a root cause to candida. If getting rid of these foods out of your diet doesn't get rid of H. pylori. Getting rid of these foods out of your diet doesn't get rid of low stomach acid. So at the end of the day, the bloating is really about like, what is the bigger picture of what's going on in your body? And I can't guarantee these like kind of Band-Aid changes might help, but they might. Another thing to consider that I sometimes see helpful is no processed sugar. So not like fruit isn't processed, so don't worry. I usually see that like avoiding fruit and carbs, like a potato or sweet potato, is not usually the issue, or like beans or something. Although if you're having issues with your FODMAPs, things like beans or broccoli might be adding to your bloat. I'm not a proponent. I don't think low FODMAP diet is going to heal you, but it might be able to, kind of depending on what's going on in your body, could help reduce your bloating again. But I was on a low FODMAP diet for 2 years. It didn't heal me. And I don't have any of my clients do it. It's not in any of our protocols to do the low FODMAP diet. So that is totally up to you if you want to try and do that to see if it reduces bloating, but no guarantees. But as far as processed sugar, think like cookies, cake, just like a latte that's got processed sugar in it, even sometimes a high enough amount of honey or maple syrup. Those are going to generally be better, especially if you're doing them in lower doses. But processed sugar really feeds the animal of candida. And same with alcohol, now that I think about it. Alcohol is usually not a number one thing people are thinking about. But yeah, if you have drink on a weekend with your husband when you go to a restaurant, that could also definitely be worsening the bloating. You might not notice it if your bloating is bad all the time. And that could be because of the other root causes behind Candida, which I'm so glad you're in the program, because it would be the wrong thing to do to approach Candida just by saying, just take some herbs, it'll get rid of it. No, it won't. The Candida will regrow back because you didn't get rid of the root cause, which again, I cover in episode 234. And by the way, I know I already mentioned H. pylori. If you want to learn more about H. pylori, or that like is intriguing to you, episode 233, the one right before my Candida episodes, all on H. pylori and all the ways that people miss it in testing and all the ways that it gets treated incorrectly, definitely check it out. So the reason I've kind of already been addressing this, but just to dig into it for a moment, the reason that these changes likely won't get rid of all of your bloating is because your Candida is not your root cause. It is a symptom of other issues. And other issues, which we cover all in the program, of like how to test for it and then how to treat it if you got it, things like that. It's going to be things like low stomach acid, which you don't want to address. You don't want to take anything that is going to boost the acidity of your stomach until you've tested for H. pylori and you know that you don't have it. And then you also want to do tests for H. pylori with not things like a hospital grade testing, because it misses it all the time. I personally recommend the GI map by Diagnostic Solutions. I think they have the most sensitive H. pylori test, and I'm standing by that. You could have other pathogens that are driving H. pylori, like parasites. You could have hidden copper toxicity driving it, which you would find on an HTMA test, which is in our program. And we teach you how to analyze it in the Better Belly Blueprint. So start with the dietary changes. You can see if it helps, but whether or not, like however much it helps a little bit, it doesn't help at all, it still points to you want to really address the root causes of these things going on. Oh, mold, which is technically like another pathogen, huge driver of Candida. And then there's other issues that can cause bloating all on its own that's not Candida. Like, let's say you had bloating, but you didn't have Candida. You could still have bloating, which is where things get really crazy and wacky in terms of there's no one size fits all solution to Candida or bloating. There's no one size fits all solution to bloating. So what are some other things that can cause bloating? That's not even Candida. Well, number one, fascial restrictions. I cover this in episode 90 called Fascia 101, the hidden force behind bloating and constipation. If you're not familiar with fascia, listen to that episode. Episode 177, I talk about, or not 177, excuse me, sodium deficiency and potassium deficiency can also be a root cause to bloating, which we test for that with our HTMA test. And I cover that topic more in depth in episode 232, is sodium deficiency causing your bloating and constipation. Other issues that can cause bloating, food sensitivities. And so I'm not like collagen. Not avoiding collagen because you have a Candida overgrowth is not a food sensitivity. It's avoiding a food group because of a pathogen you have in you. And there's good reasons to do that. But a food sensitivity, like let's say you're sensitive to corn and rice and you don't know it and you're eating it every day because you're gluten-free and you're avoiding gluten, but now you're eating corn and rice and you are sensitive to it and you don't know it. Well, that's going to add to bloating. And I talk about the best food sensitivity test there is out there called the Zoomer test in episode 267, the best food sensitivity test out there for you with Vibrant Wellness, which is the producer of that test. And we talk about the science behind how that test is so stinking superior. I mean, it's amazing. And so that could be another thing that could be driving food sensitivities. And I can't tell you I don't know what your food sensitivities are until you test. Testing is the best thing to do. So we've already mentioned 3 tests already, the GI map, the HTMA, and now the Zoomer. I am, by the way, putting all these links in the show notes. So you don't even don't write everything down if you don't need to, but there's a lot, right? Which is why we have so many episodes breaking all these things down. Another thing which you've already caught on to, friend, is that liver congestion can cause a lot of symptoms like those night sweats that you mentioned, but also bloating. So if your liver is congested, that can be one of your symptoms. The good news is module 3 of the program, you're going to get that liver protocol released to you and you'll be able to start working on it after you've done your taking your testing samples. But for anyone who's still learning about the liver and you're like, what do you mean the liver can cause these things? Go to episode 118 called Liver, the number one thing you can do to ease bloating and PMS. You might find that your bloating reduces simply with starting the liver protocol, but do focus on getting your testing done first in modules 1 and 2. Another thing that can cause bloating, which I already mentioned, was oxalate overload. You can have oxalate overload for reasons unrelated to Candida or for different reasons than Candida. So episode 148, the oxalate episode, is going to be great to listen to. And then mold can drive Candida, but you can also just have mold toxicity and it causes bloating unrelated to having Candida or not. So that's going to be episode 220, 100 symptoms of mold exposure and toxic mold. How many do you have? That episode, that 100 symptoms episode, is literally the beginning of like 8 more episodes on mold. So if you want to do a deep dive into mold, I highly recommend that mold series that starts with episode 220 that I just mentioned, and that will be in the show notes. So that's everything I had to say on bloating. That, my recommendations may or may not work, but they are I mentioned them specifically because of the Candida that you mentioned. And I am not I would not recommend like adding lemon juice to your water. Like it could feed H. pylori. That can cause bloating. Now you could try it, but it's not a recommendation for me, if that makes sense. There's a lot of things we can try and then learn that didn't work. And that's fine. It's kind of like a scientific process of like, try things. Does it work or not? It's just a process of elimination. But moving on, let's move on to trying to conceive. So I also felt like when I was hearing your question that there was a component of like, also I want to try to conceive. Is there anything I can do to help my symptoms when I'm pregnant? So this is probably not the advice you're wanting to hear from me, but you cannot do this program while pregnant. You do not want to detox, kill parasites, detox your liver, because while it's good for you, if there's another living being in your body at the same time of detoxing those things, your body doesn't know, like it's sending these toxins out into your bloodstream to try and get filtered out by the liver and the kidneys to pee and poop out. But it's not going to catch everything. So you are setting yourself up to not intentionally, but not know how much toxins your fetus is going to be exposed to while you are detoxing these things. And the same with breastfeeding. Once you get pregnant and then you're breastfeeding, you're looking at a 9-month window plus breastfeeding window, say like a year, like tends to be, I don't know, maybe that's way more than what you're anticipating on doing. Maybe it's way less, but like maybe middle ground, a year and 9 months of being pregnant and breastfeeding where you can't do any of these protocols. So what I would encourage you to do is ask yourself, how bad do I feel? How bad are these symptoms you're dealing with? And how much do you want to prioritize getting pregnant versus addressing your health? Another thing that you might be considering, or if you think about it long enough, might end up popping into your mind is, how much does it concern you that the symptoms you're having, if unaddressed, you might pass on some of the root causes to the baby, like copper toxicity or a parasite or Candida overgrowth, because babies do tend to inherit the microbiome that their mother has at the time of birth. So I'm not trying to scare you. Like it's a common conversation I have with clients, and that you either have already thought of it, so I might as well say it on the podcast, or you haven't thought of it, but you might, as you continue to think about it. And so I would ask yourself, like, how bad do I feel? How much do I want to prioritize getting pregnant versus my health? And then how scared or nervous does it make me feel imagining a baby growing in the body that I have currently, that is the health that you have currently? You might be like, no, I just more highly value being pregnant, and I'm okay with having some of these symptoms on top of being pregnant. And I realize my baby might get exposed to things, but I feel good enough that like the baby will overcome them and they'll be fine. Like if that's your answer, get pregnant. If that's not your answer, you'll probably start leaning in the direction of feeling sad that you want to get pregnant sooner than later, but also being like, oh, but I do want to get my health like more under wraps. That will take more time than 2 months, because in the program, the very first step you're doing is not just treating randomly with protocols, it's testing. You want to test. You don't want to guess, especially because Candida is not a root cause. So we need to go and do testing for H. pylori with our test, not with somebody else's test that has weaker testing samples. Go listen to the H. pylori podcast if you want to learn more about how all the issues you can have with other types of H. pylori testing. But you want to test for hidden copper toxicity. You want to test for low stomach acid. You want to test for mold. You want to test for all these different things that could be driving your symptoms underneath Candida, and those take long. So testing first, and that takes like 4 to 6 weeks to get your results back on average. Can take longer depending on does it take you a while to send the sample back in, things like that. Is the lab really overwhelmed with samples recently? So things that no one can control, but you just send it in and be faithful. And then after you get your lab samples, then you start your protocols. And depending on what you find in your labs, you could be looking at protocols that last between 3 to 6 months or sometimes longer. If you find mold on one of your labs and you really want to address it, it's gonna usually be closer to a minimum of 12 months. When you start thinking about, do you need to test for mold in your current home? Is there remediation? Do you need to move? Now we need to do protocols to pull the mold out of your body and once you've moved, things like that. So again, not to make you feel scared or sad, because it might, I get it, it might make you feel those things, but to give you the details so that you can make your own choice of what you feel best about, and that your expectations are set correctly. That I don't know what your labs are going to find, but what your labs find could be the biggest determiner of how long it's going to take for you to be in this process. I can share that we get clients who literally don't think that they could get pregnant because they've had so many hormonal issues that get pregnant in our program and have to stop their protocols, which they're sad about, but that it's okay. It's okay to have to stop your protocols. And I say we always celebrate babies and we always celebrate life. If a body is willing and able to make life and sustain life through a whole pregnancy, that is a blessing. Yeah, can it suck to have symptoms during that pregnancy or, feel like, oh, maybe that's what the baby's going to get? Sure. But our lives are resilient. Your baby's resilient. They have a whole life to live. You can start helping them heal their gut when they're at a young age, and they don't have to wait till they're your age to start thinking about it. So there's still plenty of time to help and support your baby before, even if you have to stop all your protocols, or maybe you decide that you're going to pause this program. One thing I wanted to cover that we get asked a lot is, if you get pregnant in our program, what happens? I usually recommend to still complete testing because you will then have your results. You could make your plan, and that plan is ready for you to start as soon as you're done breastfeeding. So that can feel really good to know. You can know, this is what my life's going to look like when I'm done breastfeeding and how I can practically help myself as soon as I'm done breastfeeding. And that's a comfort to some people. And I generally find that that's really helpful. And so I recommend, still finish out the testing, even if you decide not to start your protocols, and then watch module 5 and 6 that teach you how to analyze the labs so that you can know, create your customized health plan with the spreadsheet we provide, and then have that plan set aside to work on when you're done with your pregnancy and breastfeeding. So that's my whole thing on TTC, trying to conceive. Again, might not be the advice you want, but I can also say from my background, when I was finishing up, I had my daughter, I was pregnant with my daughter, my first daughter. And then sometime in the middle of breastfeeding, I really felt like I probably had a parasite. And I planned that I was getting some symptoms I didn't like. So for 1 or 2 months after her first birthday, we weaned her earlier than she wanted to. It wasn't horrible or anything, but just saying, it wasn't like she ended it herself, but I chose to end it with the 1 to 2 feedings we had left a day. And then I did a parasite protocol for 2 months before we tried to conceive again. And so that's what we chose to do, what I felt best doing. And maybe you don't feel the same way. So that is it. I hope that is helpful. I'm so excited for you being in the program. I'm excited that I got to answer this public and live. Even if you have group coaching access, it's so fun to sometimes answer questions like this because you are on the inside. You're so close. And for other people, maybe you're listening and this is all really new information to you, or it's fun for you to hear somebody who's starting a program and where the questions they're asking and the things they're thinking about. Because yeah, that whole pregnancy thing is so common for people who are joining this program. We work a lot with women, especially women at a stage where they're wanting to get pregnant for the first time, second, third, fourth, things like that. So whatever you choose to do in terms of getting pregnant sooner or delaying it a little to work on these protocols, we're here to support you and support you as soon as you're ready and able to start back up with your Better Belly Blueprint curriculum. So I hope that helps. And for anybody else who's like, oh my goodness, this program sounds amazing. I want to test myself. I want to learn how to analyze my labs, which by the way, saves you a ton of money. I want to learn how to put together protocols that are customized based off of my unique lab results and body and aren't the same cookie cutter protocols that everybody else is doing. If that's you, go to betterbellytherapies.com/blueprint. Learn all about our Better Belly Blueprint course where we teach you how to know what labs you need to order them at near wholesale price, analyze them, create your own customized health plan, and pretty much just heal yourself. I'm really excited. We recently had some new testimonial episodes come out as of this podcast releasing, and we're going to have another one coming out next month. So if you want to hear recent stories of students of ours who've gone through the Better Belly Blueprint program, now is the time. And if you are like, Allison, that all sounds amazing, but I do not want to learn about it myself, can you just do it for me? That is our VIP program. You can go to betterbellytherapies.com/VIP, learn all about our VIP program, what it costs, how long it is, everything included, and ask a question if you have any in there and figure out what is better for you. Better Belly Blueprint, Better Belly VIP, and ultimately get healed. That's all we want, right? Want to feel good so you don't have to be in programs like this. Go to the beach or play with your kids or spend money on a new set of golf clubs. That's not what I'm doing with my money right now, but maybe somebody wants to. So that is it, y'all. I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll catch you next week.
This is placeholder media that you'll see if you add a layout to an empty scene. You can go ahead and delete it.
Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening. You can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of. And you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.